Good morning. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. And I am very happy about this Tuesday because I have a guest, um, Victoria Robinson, author. So, authors community, writers community, poets, everything involving pen and paper. Please welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm grateful and I'm thankful to be able to have Victoria on the show because she touches on a lot of the things that I touch on in my books and in everything that I do. She is inspirational, and from the moment that I knew her, met her, she's even given me even she may not know this, but a silent boost to of encouragement to keep doing what I'm doing because she's doing what she's doing. And so let me bring her in, Victoria. Glad to have you. Please just say your name and just say what you do.
Hi, I am Victoria. I am an author and an inspirational speaker. I also have a confidence building resource called Nine I Exist, where we illuminate guiding them to wholeness through divine guidance. So here today, I'm excited to talk about silence. I'm excited about overcoming and being an overcomer. I'm excited to talk about um,
Okay,
and
so
really, sorry.
sorry, I'm just excited to just fire off these questions at you. But if you have more,
Yeah.
say more.
Yeah. So finding your voice and knowing who you are had to become, but more so who you are before life challenges happen to you. Knowing your true why and who you are and why you were made and why you exist. To have the identity of knowing who you are, to walk in audacity and to also fulfill the destiny that God has given you for this life and the life. I'm excited.
You said a lot, and I'm glad you said a lot because there's a lot of individuals out there that are keeping all that in. And for
Yes.
me, the more I entered onto the scene of writing and philosophy for the purpose of wanting people to be attracted to an understanding. But what I found was attracting them was me.
Yeah.
So I want you to talk about how your silence has attracted people to you and how that silence you have transformed it into a language of its own, into a its own parallel, so to say. Just expand on that.
So for the most part, I've been silent as far as um, childhood experience throughout life. I've been silent, holding things inside. I was one to not let what was going on or to see the bad or to see the things that I was battling. But even though I was silent, I always had others. And like when others came to me, they would come to me about their problems and they would always say advice and I'm going to apply it, or they would come and just try to vent to me. And then they would, when I would speak to them about certain situations, their eyes would be open. They would ask me all of this and that, but I would never dig in deep inside of, why the things that I knew. And just transferring that language for me, because I was silent and because the silent was new, um, because the silence was so loud, I had through my actions, instead of me speaking, I knew that through my actions, I would be more vocal. So by me not speaking, I used my vocal and to know like how to be kind, how to have being of integrity, to show and demonstrate love to others, to show courage and boldness to others, even though I was silent. So I feel like in order for me to really talk about silence, I'll speak up about my my childhood, if that's okay. That is where I am now and where I am going. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's beyond all right. Actions speak louder than words, and silence in and of itself is an action. So for you to feel what you felt, and then for you to be motivated by that, that kind of brings me into my next question or thought for you: is transforming past experience into positive vision, which is something that you
Okay.
did through everything that you went through. So I like to write about the fact that your past experiences, though negative in the moment and appearing to be something holding you back, they're actually setting you up for your future if you're willing to see it. So if you could just talk more
Exactly.
about, yeah, if you could just talk more about how you allowed that to happen for yourself, and the kind of ideology that you developed to push yourself into and to continue to push yourself into the vision that you've seen for yourself through what you've gone through.
So first and foremost, about my Savior Jesus Christ, I wouldn't be here without God, because one that has been with me since I was a child. Um, I'm a preacher's kid. I'm a preacher's daughter. So I grew up in the Word. I grew up knowing the Word of God, but that I experienced, it skewed that for me. By that is when I was 7 and 8, I was molested by a female.
Wow.
Yeah, I was molested, and that skewed the word tainted love for me. For me, it felt like in order for me to be really loved, and I would hear my dad preach on God's love and this, but for that love to be received. And then from growing up, someone that was close to me, I remained silent, not only just because of my mom and my dad, and knowing the calling that my dad had on his feet, in my eyes, a burden to the calling that my dad had on his mama. I didn't want to start chaos. And here I am as a child. I'm worried about a calling versus my own need to speak up and speak out, because it was somebody in our family. And from there, it just turned into wrong relationships, and me trying to feel whole and lead through the relationships that I entered in. Knowing in my mind that, those relationships weren't right and that I shouldn't do it. But as a teenager, you only know so much. So those relationships as well. And because it left me silence, and because silence was dormant, into becoming a people pleaser. Like, I really tried to be codependent on them and their needs. And it was like I was more so welcoming that they had to put on top of me versus healing first
Yeah.
and actually knowing myself in order to help others. So with that being said, it ended up leading to mental abuse, verbal abuse, not verbal abuse, and emotional abuse. And I remember having this conversation. I was telling him, where I was, where I am, and where I'm headed. And relationships I was in, letting him know I was molested. I also, when I was so just being able to sit down and really, this is my life, because he never knew. And I held his hearing him, at the end say, Victoria, I love you. You're doing more. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of the woman that you're becoming. Broke off a lot of feelings, a lot of the feelings of fear, of guilt, of shame,
Yeah.
because I was holding in, I was wearing a mask, because on the outside, I'm giving advice to people, I'm hurting inside. So it was a battle, but after being with my dad to release all of that, because I never wanted to be a disappointment. And my eye, a disappointment. And I never wanted to let my family down. And how I viewed, after hearing all that, how I viewed my dad is when I realized that's because I ran away from my dad and my mom, and not wanting them to know the things that I to be, because I was embarrassed about the things that I've been through, and disappoint them, to hurt them. That showed me this. That's how my relationship was with God. It was me only wanted me to come to Him, to receive that love, to receive that healing, to outpour. And in the midst of all of that, placed people in my life during that critical time of me trying to find my voice. He placed that guided me and helped me to open up, to speak about things, and to have somebody, whether it's your dad, whether it's your mom, or whether it's something about you. It could be a friend, it could be a coworker, a coach, or whoever it may be. Have genuinely cares about you, and if they just sit there and ask you, like, what's your story, to open up. Don't be afraid to speak about what it is that is going on, because you know in a moment to help set you free and deliver you. So,
And that was wonderful. And you never know who's listening. Like, you never know what other girl is gonna be hearing you, is gonna be seeing you, and they're gonna see you. They're gonna be like, "What? She went through that, but she's doing this now? No, I can do better than that. She's my new inspiration." So you never know,
mm-hmm.
and then you see that back, and then you're like, "I'm feeding their motivation to do better. I'm gonna do better than that, better than me." So it's just a play off of energy. And going
I,
back to what you spoke about. Oh, sorry, keep going.
sorry. I was saying I wanted to become the woman that I needed when I was younger, because she was
Mm,
dealing with a lot of grief from her family members that she lost, and also dealing with health problems. And then you had my dad, who was the discipline, so the pastor, and so he was traveling, or I didn't really feel as comfortable going. There wasn't there wasn't anyone until I got older that I could, and so I wanted to be that woman that, no matter if you're 5, 6, 7, 8, if something is going on, like, I want you to be able to tell me. So there are a lot of times where kids have to be silent because they don't have anyone that they can, or anyone that will believe them, or anyone that would sit to know that child, because the generation before us, it's said, so you can't do this, you can't do that, but it's like, why? And it's
yeah,
like, this is bad, and I really don't want you to do this, because if you do this, it could happen to you. So I love you too much, and I don't want you to have, instead of breaking it down, it was more so, no, I said so. That's it. I'm the parent, you're the child. But I feel like there's a disconnect between this generation. It's like, yes, we need to bridge the gap and have the disciplinarian, and would say it with love and to explain yourself at the same time. So to be the one, I wanted to make sure that I was the person or became the person that I needed when I was younger. It would explain to me, you know, the right from wrong that I already knew, but of that meaning, because kids, they know early. Kids about certain things, but my thing is, if they're not learning it at home, they're learning it from their friends, because their friends are going through some of the similar experiences. So I wanted to be that woman that would be Asian, no matter who you are, to confide in, because I believe in allowing God to come in to heal you completely, because things in life doesn't mean that we need to stay in that state of mind. So I want people to have their mind renewed. I want them to walk into their purpose and destiny and know the way they were created. And it takes a dedicated person to, because for me, I didn't want to just, I wanted to help heal others. And with that being said, once God graced me to give me the voice to speak to my dad, to give me the voice that he even brought my way before my dad, to be able to speak up about my story, I did therapy. And especially, a lot of us don't believe in therapy. We don't believe that your problems, you shouldn't, what goes on in this house stays in this house. But I know that is not the right way to go, because that creates on. And then when you hide, or when you have secrets, or when you have things that you're holding, it builds up.
It does.
And it carries on in others situations and other things. So I feel it's very important to actually let go of all the things that you have went through, to the appreciation of the journey. It's not where you're headed along the way to where you are headed, to where you have been destined or created for. So
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because as you're speaking, I began to think about the other females that I know that have been molested. But here's the trip, though, and I want you to speak on this pretty quickly or briefly. There is what I've noticed, a pattern of blacking out the past and wanting to move on from what took place so that it's forgotten, and so that the moment's forgotten, and so that them at that point in time is forgotten, and that they can move on. But there's still trauma there that they're still pushing back, but living their life as though it's not or has never taken place. You don't seem to have done that, in the sense of you've allowed your mentality, and you said it over and over, is the mindset, to conquer whatever you went through. So can you talk about your mindset to not do what both male and female, what human being would naturally do, is black out those memories, black out that time, don't take anything from it, and just look at it as a negative experience and to carry that within. Can you talk about your experience of just not wanting to do that?
well, for a long time, believe it or not, I did that. The rug.
Yep, yep,
They have that saying of, "Oh, I'll let it go," but
yep.
until you forgive, until you forgive yourself,
There's the
until you
key.
forgive the person that, until you even take it a step further. First and foremost, ask God to forgive you. You played a part in, by not speaking up, by being silent. So for me, it was walking into the accountability to the things that I allowed to happen. Also, was the biggest part. I forgave others, I asked God for forgiveness. But the biggest thing was forgiving myself for so up, because before it, it was more so downing myself of, oh, you're not going to be anything. You're not going to be anything. No one wants you. You're used. You've been through the gut. Just imagining the worst of myself. And like I said, God started to provide friends around tenant that inquired about my story, and just to myself, I realized that how can I put it? I realized that things in was only damaging myself more. And even though I said, I let it go, I really didn't let it go. I swept it under the rug. Like that under the rug, it shows up in different situations. Like,
Right.
for example, when you're molested and you don't speak up and out about it, you can either be promiscuous, you cannot trust nobody, you could be sexually assaulted, you could be you can go down into mental, emotional, because that silence is so strong, it really paralyzes you in every area of your life. You get with people for the wrong reasons. You allow friends to come into your life that just use and take from you. It messes up your relationship with your family. Like, there's so many different avenues um, from molestation that it can take a toll on your life. And I saw that path because after I had that abortion, I fell into depression and became suicidal. And it
Wow.
wasn't until I cried out to God, I need to know you. Like, I need to know you for myself. Deliver me from this situation. If you could just get me out of the state of Georgia, 15. And I was like, if you could just get me out of the state of Georgia, I would grow my relationship with you. You need me to do. I would walk the way that you need me to walk. And that was January 2016. I was standing in my new apartment in Florida.
Jeez.
So that was December.
Jeez.
The next month,
Jeez.
I was standing in a new apartment in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I remember breaking down crying because how much God loved me. Because it wasn't on my own doing. I couldn't, or the means to just get up and go. But it was a desperate cry for me. Lord, I need you. Like, I've heard my dad talk about you. I've heard about you. I need to know you for myself. And once that happened, it didn't happen overnight. Little by little, I started to grow by reading his word. I started to grow and change by talking to people that is me and hearing their struggles and their challenges. And then to me, it was Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewal. And I remember um, during that time of me in Fort Lauderdale, I met this one girl who was a friend of mine at the time, and she asked me her story. And I remember when she first asked that, I was like, she was like, Victoria, I feel like you have a story that you're not sharing. Like, or just think of it. Just
Mm.
Tell me your life story. So I remember story and just telling her everything, the molestation, and I went deeper inside been through, and from there the way me and my family were, and all the steps. And I remember her telling me, she was like, you know, things manifest. There's power in your voice. You've been silent for too long. That are out here that are hurting, that have gone through some of the worst experiences than you, that really needs to hear this encouragement, because it hit a nerve in me, because I remember since I was young, that's what I did. I've always uplifted people and always gave to people advice, whether it was things. I was a big encourager of seeing other people succeed. So, and during that time, I realized that I had it all wrong. It says love God first, and then love others as you love yourself.
For sure. For sure.
But was I really loving God? Because I had it wrong before I
Yeah.
could even love myself. So it was this whole through, and that I had to work through in order to, and then not only work through it, but to also speak it. Speak. That sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. Blown out lie. It's a full blown out lie.
Yeah.
Word stone, or you tripping and falling on your knee, or stick, hurt much worse, because they linger throughout your life. Throughout your life. If somebody tells you you're stupid when you're young, if you haven't healed, later on in your life is going to appear. Throughout your life is going to appear. If you have not healed, renounce that. No, I'm not stupid. I'm smart. I'm brilliant. I'm intelligent. Taking out that thought that they placed inside of you is going to linger. So what I chose to do, I chose to first allow God in to heal me. Process. I chose to willingly be a part to, and as I did that, it started to change my mindset. And then once I started to speak out of what against being told. So in my mind, those thoughts would come. You're not worthy. You're not enough. Or you're never gonna make it. I started to speak off those thoughts. Immediately, I would replace those thoughts with, no, I'm going to take it a step further and actually speak it out.
Yeah.
Out, you actually believe it.
That's justification. Literally, I have my show and my book, Justification, is everything you just talked about. It's about taking, we take, ourselves to be religion sometimes. And I'm coming from the perspective of the Bible. And I'm coming from the perspective of the active words. And that's what I like to emphasize, is that the words are active. Active in the sense of you don't need to read them and quote them on your daily life, but let them sit within you. And then as you're living your life, those words will come back, not in literal words, but in forms of, as you say, action, emotion, um, just going back and forth the distance with the vibration that we can get from emphasizing everything that we've gone through in our past. Man,
Yeah.
brilliant. And I'm
Sorry.
sorry, gonna have to end right here, but I'm sorry to end because, man, everything that you talk about is everything that is literally real. And you touch on points of being willing. I speak to different people that tell me church isn't doing it for me. Church is in the spot for me. Yeah, because they're going there and they're waiting for the pastor to convert them. So as you're talking about the generational gap between now and then for parent and child, there's still a generational gap between the experience that is supposed to happen in the with the words of the Bible and the expected experience traditionally held. So what you're saying is that that gap needs to be closed by us willingly, and that transformation willingly, and that mind willingly. So there's no such thing as God will do things for me. It is, this happened, you prove yourself to me. Because you prove yourself to me, I'm gonna remain loyal to you. That was my experience also. And that's what and
That's it.
that's how it
That's it.
and that's how it goes, because once you know, you can't just pick up a belief of mother and father or of best friend or of pastor so and so or of expert and scholar this and that. Life is intimate. The living God is intimate. Creation, if we look through Genesis, is an intimate act. It's intimate. And so we can do everything that we can do on the outside. We can take in everything that we could take in, but unless it is actually intimate, and as you continually say, that silence becomes louder to the point where you need to do something about it and speak up, then that's, you
Yeah.
quote perfectly, be renewed in the spirit of your mind. And that's something that I stand by also. And it's just a beautiful life experience when you can get out of yourself to then see yourself from that perspective, the little you, or the hurt you, or the sick you. That's the inspiration to move forward. That's the proof of the health that you received. And then I'm loyal to you now. And now that I'm loyal to you,
Yeah.
you can't shut me up about what you can do for me, because now, like, you have solidified that loyalty to me, that you are a creator, you are living. Whatever anybody else is worshiping, that ain't that. Because you've given me that inspiration to have the testimony, to confess what is
Right.
real and what is real
Mm.
to this plane of existence. So, man, you are brilliant. Your story is brilliant. Before we close off, just tell the world where they can find you and how.
You can find me on Instagram at and on TikTok at I Victoria Exist. Right now, I'm in a processor, and once I have that up, I will send you the information. Um, my book, The Warrior
Yes,
Who Didn't Speak.
yes,
You can find it on going to The Warrior Who Didn't Speak and put my name in. It'll come up. But for the opportunity of allowing me to speak, I think is very for us to come together to help encourage them to find their voice to speak. There are so many people right now that are silent or living unapologetically them. And what I mean, nothing wrong with being unapologetically you, but make sure that it's the true you to
yeah,
become.
yeah. Usually it's
Make sure
pain
it's
that
the you that not the I endured this or I
yeah,
experienced that. Make sure that it's the real you. Before any challenges came, who were you? Or who are you naturally? So
and with that, a beautiful ending. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for leaving us for continuing thoughts outside of this. And much success and blessing to you now and always. Thank you.
thank you, and same to you. Much blessings to you.
Take care.
You too.